ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनवधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहस्रशीर्षं देवं विश्वाक्षं विश्वशम्भुवं विश्वन्नारायणं देवमक्षरं परमं पदं विश्वतः परमान् नित्यं विश्वन्नारायणगुं हरिं विश्वमेवेदं पुरुषस्तद्विश्वमुपजीवति पतिं विश्वस्यात्मेश्वरगुं शाश्वतगुं शिवमच्युतं नारायणं महाज्ञेयं विश्वात्मानं परायणम्. So we were looking at the first rik here. As I already told you, this Narayana Sukta is part of the Taittiriya Aranyaka, and the previous Anuvaka here, the previous chapter in the Taittiriya Aranyaka, was talking about Maheshwara as the Dhyeya, or the one whom you have to do upasana on, okay, or you have to meditate on. Now this Narayana Sukta itself is actually talking about the Swarupa, or the nature of that Maheshwara whom you have to meditate on, okay. And this Narayana again is presented as Sahasra Shirsham, the one who has, or one who has all the heads. In fact, Sahasra is not literally 1,000, it is limitless, who has limitless heads. In fact, who all the eyes are his eyes only, Vishwaksham and Vishwashambhuvam, and who is the source of all happiness that we experience in this samsara, in this world. Whatever happiness, whether it is physical whatever pleasure, or intellectually you are also having some sukha, correct? The sukha itself is analyzed. Different types of enjoyment are there. All that, the source of all that is this Narayana only, okay? And who is Vishwam? So Vishwam here means just this world, okay? So the world itself is not separate from this Narayana. Like saying the pot is nothing but clay, correct? The jewelry is nothing but gold. Similarly, the world is nothing but this Narayana only, because Narayana is the cause of this world. The world is only an appearance or manifestation. Like even the jewelry is a manifestation of gold, pot is a manifestation of clay. It's only name and form. Understand that. The effect does not have a separate existence other than the existence of the cause itself. Cause is the one which is real. The effect is only mithya, we say, does not have an existence of its own. So Vishwam, all that is here, this entire world is not really separate from this Narayana. And Narayanam, in fact, we were looking at the word Narayanam. Narayana means what? Because the Sukta itself is Narayana Sukta. And there is a very famous verse which is there in many texts, okay, including Manusmriti and different Puranas, Vishnu Purana, Mahabharata. So what is that verse? Apo narayiti prokta, apo vai narasunavaha, ayanam tasyataf purvam, tena narayana smritaha. The second line also has another reading, okay, which is ta tadasya ayanam purvam, Tena Narayana Smritaha also is there. Ta tadasya ayanam purvam or ayanam tasya taf purvam. Meaning doesn't change much. Okay. So apo nara iti proktaha means what? Nara means apaha, waters. So in one way, if you take Narayana or Vishnu, how do we visualize? Whenever we say Vishnu means we talk about, even in Tamil, we talk about Parkadal or Kshira Sagaraha, the one who is there in this this Sagara, this ocean. Okay. So his home is nothing but this ocean, Kshira Sagara, Milky Ocean. Okay. And Narayana is lying there on Ananta. Ananta is the original coil spring mattress. Like that, my guru used to say. So this Narayana is effortlessly lying there. And Narayana need not do anything. In the presence of Narayana, everything happens. That is the idea there. So the one whose abode is this or these waters or ocean, that is the physical meaning. Narayana as a devata, if we see, we visualize Narayana like that. But then none of our texts have just one meaning, or even our cultural forms, they all have meaning at multiple levels. So one way to understand is what physically, if we have to understand this, Narayana is the one who has as his abode or his thanam, his place, or wherever he is staying, correct? Where is Narayana means Narayana is in Kshira Sagara, he is in the ocean, Milky Ocean. So one who has the Milky Ocean or the waters as his ayana, as his thanam, as his abode, that is Narayana. Okay, you can visualize like that. Okay. But then what is the sukshma meaning? What is the meaning, subtle meaning at a different level? Means what? First we have to understand what is Nara or even waters. How can you say the word Nara? How can it be called as the ocean or waters? Apaha, because Apo Nara iti proktaha was said. Means there also they say that Nara is nothing but this Paramatma. Okay, Nara is Paramatma. What? Nara means I thought it is human being. Correct? Narasimha also we say, correct? Half human, half lion is Narasimha. So Nara means human being, also meaning is there. Nara means Paramatma, also meaning is there. How can you say Nara is Paramatma? Means nariyate iti naraha, like that. Ring shayaha, ring shaye. So ring, there is a dhatu in the meaning of shaya, decay or decline, all that. Okay. Nariyate means what? One who does not decay or disappear or get destroyed. That is this Paramatma. Nariyate iti naraha. And narat. So apo vai narasunavaha is that verse also, correct? Apo nara iti proktaha, apo vai narasunavaha. Sunavaha means what? Is the one who is born out of nara. So narasya apatyam, tasya apatyam and, like that also there is a tadhita pratyaya can come. Nara, then narasya apatyam, the one which is born out of this nara is nara. When the tadhita pratyaya comes, the vriddhi happens. So nara, and so waters are nara. And again, the one who has the waters as his abode, okay, yadasya ayanam. Okay, taha apaha yadasya ayanam, the one who has his abode as these waters. is the one who is called Narayana. Then if we look at it in a different manner, Nara is Paramatma. Okay. And this Paramatma, from this Paramatma only everything is born, correct? Sharira Jatam Sarvam. Because this Virat, this whole physical world, if you take it as the body of Bhagavan, the one who is there as the Dehi in each and every body in this physical world. Okay, who is that? That is the Narayana we are talking about, correct? So we can say the one who is there in all the shariras. Okay, so normally in each and every body, we think that each and everybody is a conscious person, correct? Every individual being is aware, whatever is living at least. So we can take it as chara and achara. Chara charatmakam normally we say. Chara means what? That which moves. Means that which has certain awareness, living beings. Okay, sentient beings we can say. Then the achara is what? That which does not move, insentient. But in all this sentient and insentient, whatever is there, particularly in sentient beings, whoever is there as that consciousness, although that consciousness can be called as Chidabhasa also, sometimes we say. Okay, the word Chidabhasa is used in Vedanta. Means it can be called as a reflected consciousness and all, somebody say, some people say, but I prefer to use the consciousness which manifests in all these bodies. Okay, rather than calling it a reflection and all that. Sometimes the reflection word can cause some confusion, although it is also used in the Shastra. Like even the part space is not a separate space, understand that. In fact, space is not in part. Actually speaking, all parts are in space. But we talk about as though the space is in part, correct? This part has only 5 liter space. This part is having 10 liter space. So we do talk about part space, the space which is manifesting in the part. Like that, the Chaitanyam, the awareness, consciousness which is manifesting in each and every body is the Jiva, is the individual. Because as an individual, we always think that we are a limited conscious being who is confined only to this body, let us say. But what is the reality? The reality is there is only one consciousness which is appearing in all these bodies and which has as though entered all these bodies so that it is available to be known. Correct? This pravesha has happened. Tat srištva tadeva nupravishat. Like that, different Upanishads are talking about pravesha. So there was one conscious being alone that then differentiated itself and became all these many names and forms and functions and all activities. And then it entered. Like this, the Upanishad normally talks about. Now, what do we mean by entry? How can the limitless enter anywhere? All these questions are there. So finally, Shankara actually in the commentary has a big discussion. He says that entry means really availability. Okay, because the limitless cannot enter anywhere. It can only enter if it is not already there, correct? Limitless means it is there everywhere. It is there all the time. How can it enter anywhere? Means normally if we say somebody has entered the room means he is available in that room. Similarly, when we talk about the entry here, it is available for you to know in your own buddhi, whatever is aware, whatever is there as the sentient consciousness. is the same consciousness. It is available for you to know. So that is the idea of this pravesha. So one who has as his abode means what here? One who is present as this consciousness in each and every being. That is Narayana. Physically, you can say Narayana is the one who has the Kshira Sagara, the Milky Ocean, as one's own abode. Fine, but the actual meaning is what? The one who has as his abode or each and every individual jiva. Correct? Jiva's consciousness itself is nothing but this Narayana only. Okay, so that is the meaning here. One who is the Antaryami, one who is the Kshetri. So Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Bhagavan in the 13th chapter. All these bodies are all called Kshetra by Bhagavan. It's all a field of knowledge only because you know the body also. But the knower in each and every body is me, Kshetrajnam, the one who knows the Kshetra in each and every body. Okay. In all the Kshetras, I am the one who is there as the Kshetrajna. Bhagavan says that. Antaryami Brahmanam also is there separately in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also. So one who is there in all the beings as the consciousness, one who is manifest as the consciousness which makes that body sentient, aware. That is me. Like that Bhagavan says in the 13th chapter. Same here, the word Narayana has that meaning. Correct? Narayana has that meaning. The one who is there in each and every body as the consciousness which is there. Okay. So one who has each and every body as his own abode. That is another meaning. That is the Vedanta meaning, you can say. Purana meaning is one who has as his abode the waters, the Milky Ocean. But the Vedanta meaning for the same word is that the one who is having as his abode each and every conscious being, the one who is manifest as the consciousness in each and every conscious being is this Narayana, who is available there as the Antaryami, sitting within you. He is the one who is making you active. Yamayati means literally in whose presence only everything is happening. You can say inner controller and all also people say. Yamayati means you can call as the Yamayati means one who controls. Also there is a meaning, or one who actually makes everything happen sitting within you. That is Narayana. So the Narayana word again is very, I already told you, correct? Narayanam namaskritya naranchaiva narottamam. Like that only Mahabharata starts. Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, Shankaracharya writes, Narayana paro vyaktat andam avyakta sambhavam andasyantastu me lokaha saptadvipa cha medhini. Like that, Shankara also starts the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya with the word Narayana. Narayana word is very auspicious word for us. So Shankaracharya in the Mangalacharana, Bhagavad Gita Mangalacharana, Shankaracharya starts with the word Narayana and he is Avyaktat Paraha. Like that, Shankara says, the one who transcends the Avyakta also. Avyakta means what? That which is unmanifest. So the world is manifest, then it becomes unmanifest. Again it becomes manifest. Then it is there, then it becomes unmanifest. So that is the cycle we are talking about. Creation, sustenance, resolution. So this unmanifest, from the unmanifest comes the manifest. That means is Narayana, the unmanifest means no. Narayana transcends the unmanifest also. Understand that. Unmanifest is the potential form. And whatever is there here is the differentiated form or manifest form. So we can say the pot is unmanifest in the clay when clay is there in another form. Let us say clay is there as powder, means, or gold is there as a bar, means it is not in the form. The jewelry is potentially there, correct, in the gold. So jewelry is avyakta. Then the goldsmith makes the jewelry, means jewelry has become vyakta. But gold is always gold. Understand that. Particularly when you go to get a gold loan or sell it, the guy who is taking the gold does not care about the name and form. Understand that. You may have a sentimental attachment to your jewelry, but the person who takes that, for him there is no sentiment. He is only seeing it as gold. Okay. Only weight counts. So the weight of the jewelry is nothing but the weight of gold. If you touch the jewelry, you are really touching gold. Gold alone is there really. The jewelry is only a name and form. Correct? So here, that is the important thing we have to understand. Whatever is manifest and whatever is unmanifest, the one who transcends both is Narayana. Avyaktat Paraha. Because manifest, unmanifest and all is only with reference to whatever is mithya. If the manifest is mithya, the unmanifest also is equally mithya. Understand that. The effect alone is either in the form of a manifest effect or it is unmanifest. It is potential. Like even the tree is potentially there in the seed, then it manifests given the right conditions. Like that. But the reality, which is consciousness, transcends both the manifest and unmanifest. Gold transcends whether the effect is manifest or unmanifest. Gold is gold. In your understanding of gold, there is no jewelry in it. In your understanding of clay, there is no partners. Understand that. The pot is nothing but clay, but clay is not pot. This is the inequality you have to understand always. Okay, B is A. A is not B. This you will understand even easily, correct? Beggar is actor, but actor is not beggar. Actor is a millionaire. By acting as a beggar, the actor has become millionaire, correct? So the beggar character is the actor. There is no beggar without the actor. But actor is not beggar. So Narayana is the avyakta, vyakta, everything. The Jagat, entire Jagat is Narayana. But Narayana, correct. But Narayana is not Jagat. Narayana transcends your idea of manifest or unmanifest world. So avyaktat paraha, like that, Bhashyakara starts. Similarly, Narayana word itself is supposed to be so auspicious. So you may have heard about the story of Ajamila in Bhagavata. So Ajamila was a Brahmana and he was a pious person. But one day he gets attracted to a prostitute or something. So a story is there like that. Okay. So then what? He goes, he leaves his family, he goes with her, and then he starts a family with her. Actually, he marries her, I think. And then he has a son whom he names as Narayana, and he is very attached to that son. So he is now leading only a life of whatever, not as per the Shastra, but wherever his senses took him. Okay. There are natural tendencies for everyone. You can go along with that. Then you become an asura. That's what Bhashyakara says. Asusu ramate iti asuraha. Asusu means here the one who is reveling in sense objects, going along with the senses. But Deva means one who lives according to what is said as dharma in the Shastra, does not go after only sense objects. So this Ajamila only went after sense objects and he did not then do anything Shastriya as per the whatever the Shastras are mandating. But he had one son, Narayana, with whom he had lot of love, you can say. He was very attached to that Narayana. Now he was about to die, and the Yama Kinkaras are there waiting to take him to Yamaloka, and maybe then Yamaloka they will do the whatever the audit of his Papa Punya, and then he was up, and maybe he has done more Papa in this life. So accordingly, he may have to go and take another birth somewhere. Correct? But at the time of death, somehow he called his son. He was attached to his son. Correct? He called Narayana. So then what happened? Along with that Yamakinkaras, the Vishnu from Vishnu Loka also the Ganas came. Okay. And then they took him away instead to Vishnu Loka because he called Narayana. So the Narayana Shabda itself is so auspicious. Like this, the Purana story is there. You can go and check out the story of Ajamila in Bhagavata. Just telling this word, that's why I think we all name our children's name also as some Bhagavan Nama only, correct? For us. At least if you are attached to your child at the time, because whatever you are thinking last, that is very important. So your next birth will be in keeping with that, like that even in Bhagavad Gita it is there, even in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also it is said. Okay. So yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalayaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitahana. But again, because whatever you think at the last moment only is important. So I will lead a life as I want. And finally I will say Narayana. If you think like that, that also is not correct. Understand it. Unless you lead a life in which the the primary samskara or impression is dharmic, you will not have Narayana will not come to you when your senses and you are not even having any free will, correct? At the time of death, everything is disintegrating. So even at that time, if you have to get Bhagavan Nama, means your whole life you must have chanted Bhagavan Nama. Understand that. So you cannot take the easy way out and say, I will lead my life as I want and finally I will somehow remember the right thing to have a better life next time or the next life. That will not work. So anyway, so Narayana Shabda is very important Shabda. Even our Narada keeps saying Narayana, Narayana, and all. That is one thing we always see, correct? We have seen, we have grown up as children also, all this drama or even all these movies which are based on our Purana and Itihasa and all, the Narada comes. And Narada also is all the time saying Narayana, Narayana. All our Mathadipatis and all also, they always put Narayana Smritis as their above the signature, let us say. Narayana Smriti is remembering Narayana only, they write something. So the Narayana word is a very important word. And then Devam. So in this Devam, Sayanacharya says, so even this Sahasra Shirsham Devam is there. So here he says this Deva is the one you have to do meditate upon. Whoever is the Deva who was talked about in the previous Anuvaka, that Deva has Sahasra Shirsha, like that he is giving connection. But then Devam is repeated here, correct? Devam. So here he says, the one who appears as Indra, Mitra, Varuna, all these Devatas, that's why he is called Devam here. In fact, that famous Rigveda quote is there, correct? What is that quote? Indram, Mitram, Varunam, Agnim, Ahuhu, Atho Divyaha, Sa Suparnaha, Garutman, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, Agnim Yamam Matarishwanam, Ahuhu. Like this, there is a quote, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Correct? That part everybody you may know because everybody keeps quoting that. Okay. But they don't quote anything else afterwards. Agnim Yamam Matarishwanam Ahuhu and all they don't say. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti is quoted. In fact, that same Rik is quoted by Sayanacharya when he gives the commentary of this Devam. So one who is appearing or manifesting as all these Devatas. That is the meaning there. Even Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti is there, correct? Truth is one. Wise people call, or God is one. Wise people call him with different names. Like that it is translated. And then this, whoever wants to say that all religions are equal and all, they say whether you call the God as Allah, Jesus, Krishna, Rama, it is the same God. Okay. At one level, we can appreciate that. We don't have any problem with any names. Understand that because all names are Bhagavan's names. We also don't have any problem if we say all prayers work. If you have the right bhavana and you are praying to Bhagavan, Bhagavan will understand. Bhagavan does not care whether you are praying in some language and all that. Although we say some certain specific prayers are also there which you have to do in a particular manner. But in general, prayer as an action where you are invoking the Lord in a particular manner, Lord will bless you in the same manner, in the same form. So Bhagavan says, I will even improve their Shraddha in that same form itself. Whoever invokes me in a particular form, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham, he says. So whoever invokes me in a particular form, I bless him in the same form. And everybody is really only worshipping me, he says. Mama vartma anuvartante manushyaha partha sarvashaha. In whichever way they worship me, they are all worshipping me only. This is Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita. So ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth is one, God is one. Wise people call him by different names. Is one popular translation, but the implication of that is not correct. Okay, what they try to understand further from that is as though all religions are same or equal. That is not correct. We can say that all forms of worship are valid. We are validating, in fact, all forms of worship are valid. All prayers are valid. But not all religions are not same. Understand? In fact, the others will not accept that. The Christian and Muslim, they are all exclusive, correct? They will never accept even if you say. But even we cannot accept that because our idea of Bhagavan is totally different, correct? We say Bhagavan is both Upadana and Nimitta Karana. Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanatvam we talk about. That is why we can even say this. Bhagavan is the one who is manifesting as everything. All forms are Bhagavan's forms. So in whichever form you worship, you can invoke Lord in any form and make it an altar of worship. No problem for us. But others will say, no, no. They have this all this concept of sacred and profanity, secular, non-secular. For a Hindu, there is nothing secular. Understand that. Everything is sacred for us. All forms are Bhagavan's forms. You can invoke Bhagavan in any form. But the others do not understand that their vision of Bhagavan is very different. Somebody who is sitting somewhere in heaven and all that. So we cannot subscribe to that and say everything is same and all that. That is not proper. That all religions are same can be a political statement maximum. That's all. You can be politically correct, but in really you are incorrect. In fact, it's not a correct statement that we have to appreciate. Just by appreciating the fact, you do not become a fanatic or anything. That is another problem. Most Hindus think that if we say all religions are not same, somehow you become fanatic. Okay, there is nothing fanatic about it. You have to appreciate facts as they are. Their vision of Bhagavan is different. Our vision of Narayana, Bhagavan is different. Is that clear? And in our vision, we can accommodate all these people. That's okay. Is that clear? Anyway, they'll get another birth. Okay, so we don't bother. Even if in this birth they do not understand all these things, we can pray for them also. Let them get another birth in India or wherever they get, at least appreciate this vision in the next birth. This birth you can give up. Many of these people, you can, even if you teach them, they are not ready to listen, correct? You cannot teach or preach to somebody. Preaching at least you can do to anybody, but teaching you can do only to the people who ask for you, correct? They have to ask you to teach. Then you can teach. So some people, even Bhagavan could not change Duryodhana. Then only the next birth. That also we have no problem. Understand that. Anyway, so this Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti is misinterpreted. In fact, the Sat word itself is very important because this Ekam Sat is there in Rig Veda, but it is there in Chandogya Upanishad also, correct? Sadeva Soumya Idam Agre Asit Ekam Eva Advitiyam. So the Sadvastu alone was there before even this manifest world was there. And from that Sadvastu only this entire world has come, this manifest world. And into that Sadvastu alone, this manifest world will go back. In fact, Sadeva Satyam, like that it says later. Sad alone is Satyam. The word Satyam is an ontological term. It is telling you the status of the reality of a particular object. So Sad alone is Satyam. Sad alone is truth. Reality means what? This entire world which you are seeing of names and forms is Mithya. Okay. It is only an appearance. It is only name and form. It doesn't have any existence of its own. What really exists, what is that Sadvastu alone. That's the Satya, Sadeva Satyam. So this Sadvastu, Ekam Sat, it is Ekameva Advitiyam, correct? It alone is there. Vipra Bahuda iti Vadanti means what? That alone has become all these things. That alone is manifest as all these things. That is the correct meaning of that. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti means what? This one Sat alone is manifesting as all these things, is appearing as all these things, all the different devatas. That is the right meaning. Okay. So Devam, Indram, Mitram, Varunam, Agni Mahu. So the one who is appearing as all these devatas, Aksharam means Akshara, Naksharati, the one who does not decline, decay, erode, one who is always there. That's what Akshara means. Again, Satya means what? Satyam means, how do you define truth? There are some philosophers, even modern people, always they like to say something. Truth cannot be defined. Truth is a pathless land. All these things are there to confuse you. Our Shastra is very clear. Okay. What is that? Truth means whatever you have ascertained to be as this is its nature, then it never changes. Yadrupena yan nisitam bhavati tadrupena tanna vyabhicharati iti satyam. If you put it in another way, that which cannot be negated, once you have known it as this, that knowledge can never be negated. That which can never be negated alone is the truth. Whatever can be negated, you see snake on rope. Snake can be negated, correct? You see rope also somebody can negate. They say, no, rope is not there, only molecules are there, atoms are there. Like that, you can keep on going. But finally, what about the negator? Nobody can negate the negator. Negator is consciousness, of the nature of consciousness. That consciousness alone is there always, because that only is revealing everything. Even this Buddhist and all, they talk about Shunya. You can negate everything, the whole world as Maya, fine. But what about the negator? Who is negating everything? Who is saying everything is Maya? That consciousness cannot be negated. Is that clear? That is Aksharam. Naksharati. That is the truth. Because it is always consciousness only. It is of the nature of consciousness. It is always revealing everything. Whatever is revealed is mithya. Because whatever is revealed keeps changing. The unchanging and in each and every cognition is yourself, the conscious being. Pratibodha viditam matam. Like that, Kena Upanishad says beautifully, Bodham Bodham Prati Viditam. In fact, we only get confused. In every cognition, we are only focused on the object of knowledge, and that keeps on changing also. But what about the nature of the subject? The subject is always there as consciousness is. Because if you say, I know pot, means pot consciousness is. I know cloth, means cloth consciousness is. I know the body, means body consciousness is. I know the laptop, means laptop consciousness is. In all these things, the part, body, laptop, and all are changing. What is the invariable? Consciousness is the invariable, correct? In every cognition, that consciousness is you. You are the self-evident, self-existent reality, unchanging. You are the one who is revealed in each and every cognition, but we take it for granted. Each and every cognition resolves into you only as the conscious being. That is what is called nirvikalpa also. The vikalpa, the subject object division and all is only mithya. You are the one into whom both the subject and object resolves. You are that conscious being. That is the reality. And that is Aksharam. In fact, if you know this Aksharam means that is what is called Paravidya. The Mundaka Upanishad talks about Paravidya, Aparavidya and all that. Yaya tad Aksharam adhigamyate. Like that, the Paravidya is talked about. This Akshara, by which this Aksharam Brahma is known, that alone is Paravidya. Everything else is only Aparavidya. It's not that exalted. Paravidya means you can say that the exalted knowledge or that is the real knowledge, in fact. Everything else you cannot know completely. Only yourself you can know completely as a whole, because you are a partless whole. Everything else you can just reduce it to something else and else and else, and you cannot really know it finally. Only yourself you can know completely, because you are nirguna, niravayava. You are a partless whole. You can know yourself completely. That is Akshara, that which never changes. Paramam Padam. Paramam also. Paramam means Utkrishtam, exalted again. Why do we say it is Utkrishtam? Because Karana Rupena, it is there. It is there as the cause of everything. The cause is more exalted than the effect, correct? There can be different effects, but the cause is the one which transcends all the effects. Even while it is appearing as an effect, the cause is still there, correct? Without losing its nature only, it is appearing as everything. That's what we say. That is what we call it as Vivarta Upadana, means Swarupa Aparityagena Rupantara Apattihi, we say. When the cause becomes the effect, if it loses itself in the process, like milk becoming curd, that is called Parinami Upadana. Parinami means that which changes, modifies. But Vivarta also is there, like gold becoming jewelry. Gold is gold only. Without losing its nature, it has become different jewelry. Correct? That is Paramam. It transcends all the effects. It's exalted that way. Paramam, Padam. Also, there is another reading, Paramam Prabhum also is there. Okay. In this, the particular rig. Paramam Padam is what we all chant, and that is also popular, I think. There is Andhra Patha and all they say. In Andhra and in other places, there is a slight Patha Beda is there. Paramam Padam means Padyate, Prapyate, Jnani Bihi, like that we can take. That which is the goal, or that which is to be attained by the Jnanis, the wise people, is this Narayana. You have to attain this Narayana as yourself. You have to know. So Narayana is the ultimate goal, because you want to be limitless, correct? All our fundamental problem is what? Being a limited being, or at least we think we are limited. That itself is the problem. Then what is the solution? I want to be limitless. Okay, you want to be limitless. Can you create the limitless? Means limitless cannot be created. If you create it, it is not limitless, in fact. Then can you go and reach limitless? Means limitless cannot be reached also. It has to be there here and now. Then only it is limitless, correct? Limitless means it has to be there right now, here and now, in time also. It should have been there, it has to be there forever. And it has to be everywhere. Then only it is limitless. Not only here, it has to be here and everywhere. Not only now, it must have been, it is now, it will always be. That means it transcends both space and time. In fact, in you only space time are there. You are not in space time. That is ignorance. That is your problem, in fact. If you think you are in space time, you are confined to a body, means you are limited, then you cannot do anything about it. But whether the fact is different, in fact, you have to analyze, am I really confined to this body? Am I really in space time? Or it is the other way around. My body is in me. This entire space time is in me. I am that conscious being in whom everything is there. That is the understanding we are talking about. That is where you have to reach. That is your goal. That is the goal of everybody who is a mumukshu and a jignasu, one who desires for freedom from all limitations, and one who wants to know this reality, this limitlessness as oneself. That is, Narayana is the goal, because Narayana is the one who is appearing as all these things. Narayana is the limitless, really. In fact, later on we'll say Anantam Avyayam Kavigum Samudrentam Vishwasambhuvam. See here, Anantam. Narayana is Ananta. That also we'll discuss. That word itself requires a separate discussion and we have to understand it properly. Okay, continuing here, what next? Vishwatah Paraman Nityam Vishwannarayanam Harim is there. Vishwatah Paraman Nityam Vishwannarayana Gum Harim. So Vishwatah Parat. So the one who is, so here Vishwataha means what? Again, this whole world, Characharatmakam, you can say, that which is appearing as all these objects. So Narayana is Param, is exalted. Why? Because Narayana is the one who is appearing as all these things. And that is the reason Narayana is Nityam also. Nityam means what? One who can never be destroyed, one who is always there. Eternal, you can say. But eternal means not long time. Some people understand eternal as long time. No, eternal means the one who transcends time. That's what I told you. One who was, who is, who will be means what? One who is the cause of time itself. That is Narayana. That is why Nitya. Nityam means what? With reference to time, the one who is limitless. Means time itself is there in whom. Space time is there in whom? That is Narayana. Narayana is not confined by the space time. Narayana is the one who is appearing as the space time. Correct? That is why Narayana is Vishwataha Param. One who transcends this entire objective world which is there in the space time. And Nitya, always there. And Vishwam, again, Narayanam, and all these words are all repeated again, correct? So here the Sayanacharya is saying repetition is not a dosha, Punarukti is not a dosha. Why? Because here Narayana is the one whom you have to do upasana on, one who you have to meditate upon. In such cases, repetition is good only. Even in Vedanta, there is a question is always asked because the subject matter is not very big. Understand it. Vedanta I can teach you in 1 hour, or I can keep on teaching you for the entire lifetime also. The subject matter is there. We repeat the same thing in different ways so that you have clarity, you understand. That's all. So where teaching is involved, Punarukti is not a dosha. Saying the same thing again is not a dosha, is not a defect. Okay. So Vishwam, Narayanam and all are repeated here. We have already discussed these words. And Harim, Hari is a new word. Okay. Harati Papan iti Hari, the one who takes away all your papa. Correct? Papa means what? Again, many of these Sanskrit words are wrongly translated into English. Okay. Papa means sin, evil, and all they translate, people translate. No, that's not correct. Okay, sin, evil, and all has a very, very Christian connotation. We don't even have to use those words. Papa means Papa. We understand Papa as Adrishtapalam. So in our tradition, we say that every action has two results. One is Drishtapalam, means whatever you immediately experience. But depending on whether you did the right thing or the wrong thing, depending on whether what you did is dharma or adharma, you are also gaining Adrishtapalam, which is punya. If you do dharma, means it is punya. If you do adharma, means it is papa. So you are gaining unseen result also. Drishtam means seen. Seen or experienced immediately, but unseen also is accruing into your account. This is only a belief. You cannot say, show me proof. If I put a microscope on you, do I see papa or punya sticking onto you? Means no. It is all subtle. Okay, but it is there. That is our belief, and that is a believable belief because our experience goes along with that. So, what is the use of this Papa Punya? Means this Papa Punya only is fructifying later on as pleasant or unpleasant experience. In fact, that is the reason why you have taken this birth itself. Each and every birth is to only exhaust a bunch of Papa and Punya. That is what we say Prarabdha Karma. Prarabdha means that which has started to fructify as this life. Because of Prarabdha only this body I got. Because of Prarabdha Karma, whatever karma which has begun to fructify only, I have whatever I have. This life. Okay. So Hari is what? Hari is the one who takes away your Papa. In fact, that famous mantra is there, correct? Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So in this Kali Yuga, if you want to cross over all sorrow, there is a Kali Santarana Upanishad also is there, one of the minor Upanishads. There this mantra is given. That's called Kali Santarana Upanishad itself because it says in Kali Yuga for you to cross this samsara, this mantra japa, nama japa is the main thing. And this Hare Rama mantra is given there. So all of you can chant it. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Remember the mantra is Hare Rama is first. Nowadays there are some people are there, they say Hare Krishna has to come first. Because for them Krishna is greater than Rama and all that. But actually in our tradition, the mantra itself starts with Hare Rama. Understand that. In this there is no Rama or is better or Krishna is better and all is juvenile discussion. Okay. All of them are avatars of Narayana or Vishnu only. So the mantra is Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In fact, one interesting story about this mantra also is there. So my guru, he was chanting this mantra and then suddenly he had a doubt. Because all mantras also have some namaha, correct? Shivaya namaha, namah Shivaya, okay? Namo Narayanaya means you are saying salutations to Lord Narayana. So you are actually in the mantra expressing your devotion in the form of a namaskara, let us say. But this Hare Rama, you are simply calling Bhagavan, that's all. Correct? Hey Hare, hey Hari. Hari only becomes Hare, okay, in Sambodhana. It's all Sambodhana. It is only Sambodhana, Vibhakti is there. Sambodhana Prathama. Hare Hare, Rama, Krishna Krishna. You are only calling out. Nothing is there. There is no Namaha. You are not asking anything also. You are not doing anything. You are not asking anything. You are simply saying Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna. You are only calling out. So he had a doubt, my Guruji. How is this mantra then going to work? There is nothing, there is no activity or there is no asking anything in this mantra. Then one day he was traveling in train. Okay. And then he reached Gudur. I think he was traveling from north to south or south to north, I don't know. The Gudur station normally comes early morning. Okay. Then what do you do? From the train, you just say, hey, tea, hey, coffee. Like that only you call out, correct? And then he comes, that person, he does his job and goes away. He gives you tea, takes the money. You don't have to say anything else, correct? You have to only call, hey, tea, hey, coffee. Good enough. The tea wala, chai wala, or the coffee wala will come and do his job. Then it struck my Guruji, it seems. He said, this makes sense now. I don't have to do anything else. I have to call Bhagavan. That's all. Hare means he will come and take away your papa. Correct? He will come and take away all your afflictions, your suffering. You just have to call. You don't have to do anything else. You don't even have to ask. Just call Bhagavan. Correct? That is this mantra. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So this is the Hari Shabda. Hara Shabda also has the same meaning. Understand that. Whether it is Hari or Hara, we don't have any difference there. And we also have a Harihara Putra also. In fact, my Kula Devata is Harihara Putra. So in our village and all, this name Hariharan is very common again. Both of them have the, etymologically it has the same meaning. Although Hari means Vishnu, Hara means Shiva, like that. There is a Rudi Artha also is there. Generally, some understanding is there, and a difference is there between Hari and Hara if you look at it like that. But meaning wise, it's all the same. Okay, then it continues. Vishwamevedam purushastad vishwamupajivati. All these things we'll see next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद.